Dude, the support on the recent videos has been crazy. I haven't been posting that much because I don't know what to make a video on. Like, I want to pick something that I can talk about for like 30 minutes, but that's really hard. Have you guys ever tried talking about something for 30 minutes? Like, by the way, the ponytail, I know it doesn't look all that good. My hair's a mess and I didn't want to do the whole thing before I made, whatever. Let's get into today's topic. For some reason, I'm always drawn to the secondary characters. I think they're called the duotagonist or something like that. It's something. If you haven't deemed it by the thumbnail or the title of the video, I'm going to be talking about Vegeta, very much how I was talking about Sasuke in one of my previous videos. I just always like the secondary character. Maybe it's just a thing where it's like the main character is too basic for me, which I will talk about later on in this video. But the secondary characters are just cool. Like Vegeta, he's cool. Now first here on my trusty notes I have why Vegeta and not Goku. Now I think part of the reason why I am usually drawn to these secondary characters more than the main character is because they're usually a bit more reserved, right? Like, you know, the types like Goku, Luffy, Naruto, they're usually very outgoing and very energetic. And that's just not me. Like, big shocker, the guy who's sitting in his room talking to the camera, not the biggest people person. And it's not only that they're more reserved, they're also, on pretty much most cases, much more nuanced than the main character. Like, if you like the examples that I gave before, Luffy, Goku, Naruto, even Asta, like they all like have pretty much very similar character traits between all of them. Of course, they're all different, but they have very things that are like, oh, they're the main character. They seem like the main character. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. It's just the main character has to be more universally likable than the secondary character because the main character is the reason why people are watching the show. They have to be in a way basic to get people into the show, to be like, this is the anchor of the show, this is the center point, and then everything else can be more nuanced. But people usually, like, if I'm going back to home base, I want it to be simple, and that's what the main character is symbolic of. But in the same way that it makes them simple and very like easy to come back to, it also makes them a little less nuanced than the secondary characters because they have much more freedom to make them a lot more complicated and give them a lot more storytelling and very nuanced things. Because they're not the main character, they can be a bit more confusing because it's like, if I get confused by Sasuke at any point, it's like, oh, I don't have to give a shit about Sasuke, I can just go back to watching Naruto. Am I allowed to curse yet? But I think most can agree that being super strong and not caring about anything and also not understanding social interactions, minus that last part, is probably not very relatable. Like, I don't go around just beating everyone that I can in a fist fight because I'm innately talented. That's not how it works. They like that. We're not all Goku. But someone like Vegeta, where he has to constantly grapple with what it means to be a good person, and if he even wants to be what most would consider a good person, which leads me directly into my next point. I think Vegeta, in the Majin Vegeta arc specifically, brings a lot of questions that a lot of other anime characters just don't. Like, most of the time, even the bad anime characters want to strive to be better, a better person, better husband, better father, whatever the goal is. They always want to be good, conventionally good. Majin Vegeta was the exact opposite. He was fighting in order to be bad. And it's like, so why is that a good thing? I'm gonna say good and bad a lot in the next like 5 minutes. Bear with me. He brings a lot more attention to what does it mean to be good, because it's a pretty arbitrary term. Did I say that right? Yes, arbitrary word. That's what it is. It's not a very fixed concept. What some might consider good, others might. For a very good example of this is soldiers. If soldiers go, and let's say I live in America, so let's say you're a soldier and you fight for America and you kill foreign soldiers to protect America, it's like a lot of Americans will say you're a good person because you're protecting innocent people by murdering foreign soldiers. But there is also a very good argument to say that you're not a good person because you're taking someone else's life, and that soldier that you might have killed has people that they also want to protect and people that will miss them. So being good isn't really a solid term, it's something arbitrary that you look at based on what point of view you stand on. So Vegeta really much tackles like, what does it really mean to be good? And once I've set a definition of what it means to be good, do I even want to be good? And it's like, well, yeah, duh, you want to be good. That's like the whole point. But do you? We often strive to be better people, to but what end, right? Let me give the example of myself. I have been training in combat sports for a for a while now, and just recently I've been getting into a lot more sparring. And I found that it's a problem that I don't really like to hurt people. And I know there's just something wrong with me because like you get into the sport where you hit people and you say you don't hurt, like I get the hypocrisy there. But it's very much more nuanced than that. So when you go into a sparring match, if it's not predetermined to be a hard sparring match and just a touch and go type thing, you don't want to hurt the other person, but you still need to hit them and hit them decently hard to so they can feel it and be like, "Oh, if that would have been 20% harder, that would have been bad." They have to realize that. You have to hit them hard enough for them to realize that. Problem being, it's hard to hurt another person with your conscience being clear, especially when you know exactly how hard you're hitting, especially when you know what techniques can hit and what techniques can't. You very much feel like an asshole if you just hit someone over and over and over again with like decent force and they just don't respond back. It's like, yeah, they're learning, and yeah, you're teaching them that, like, hey man, defend this better, but you're kind of just hitting them in the face over and over and over again. So that's what I mean, where it's a bit harder to actually hurt somebody. But at the same time, if I'm training in combat sports, I want to be a good fighter. I need that pride and the cockiness and the selfishness to be like, I am better than you. I am good, and I'm going to be the best. You need that mentality in fighting. It's what makes these successful fighters successful. That's why Conor McGregor is Conor McGregor. He's not a nice person. He's not a good person by a lot of people's standards. But he's a great fighter and he's good at what he does. And to him and to people around him, that makes him good. And that's exactly what Vegeta was struggling with. I want to be the best fighter and conqueror and strongest person I can be. But that doesn't mesh with the standard of being a good person that I have set for myself, with like being a father and being a good husband and staying at home and doing all the normal things that people do. It's like, yes, being good is always nice, but there comes points in your life where you don't want to be good, to better yourself, to improve, or to even help other people. You need to be what would be considered a bad person. And how do you grapple with that? And that's what Majin Vegeta is, because the way most people handle that, the way Vegeta handled that, is going too far into one of the extremes. Being you either just detest the idea of being bad at all, or being malicious at all, or prideful at all, and you go completely the other way where you are all good in a sense where you're not confrontational at all. You hold zero pride. You're very passive. You're still kind because those are kind things, those are empathetic things. But are you really bettering yourself or bettering the people around you? Maybe not, maybe, but maybe not. Or you go too far the other way where you're like, well, I want to be better and I want to have all this strength and power. So I'm going to completely let go of this part and just be an asshole. Just be prideful, just be strong, just be the person I want to be, and to hell with everything else, which is the route Vegeta took. Me personally, I would go much more over here, which is also a bad thing. Both are bad. You want to be, like most times in life, in the middle. But it can be very helpful to see someone go the complete opposite way, to see someone exhibit this pride and this strength when you yourself don't really have that. And most people, they don't show you that. For example, for me, it's been a very constant problem in my life that I am more passive than not and much more lenient than not. And, you know, you pass it off as I'm trying to be kind, but really, are you really being kind? It's a gray area, but no one shows you the opposite, right? So if I'm being very nice, too nice, and being overly passive, and it's obviously not helping me or the people around me, The people around me will see me as being kind or passive, and they'll see that it's not helping me too much, but you can't really fault someone or tell someone, hey, you're doing something wrong if they're being too nice. Like, that's usually, like, maybe sometimes people will come up to you and be like, hey, you're being too nice. But most of the time, if you're being nice, people just assume that that's what you're supposed to do. You never get an example of someone being an asshole and then being like, damn, that's actually pretty justified in this situation. You rarely ever get that except for Vegeta, where he is constantly a prideful asshole, and you're like, well, yeah, that's what he needs to be right now. It gives you a very good example of the opposite section that you're on, so you can very much more go towards the middle instead of just staying stagnant where you are. Now, this leads me directly into one of my next points, and I was planning on talking about this later, but I think it ties in very much so to what I just said. Vegeta as a character probably isn't for certain people. What do I mean by this? For me, a person that's always struggled with self-image and being a bit too passive and a bit too kind and letting people, like, kind of, not really, but kind of run over me in a sense, and never having that sense of pride and strength. To me, Vegeta is a very useful character because it shows me, like I said before, the other side of the aisle. It shows me that yes, there are situations where you have to be an asshole or you have to be stronger than you are now, more prideful than you are now. But to someone that's maybe a bit healthier and has a bit healthier of a self-image, it is more towards that middle area. Having someone like Vegeta saying that he's always the best and he's always just the bee's knees probably isn't the healthiest because it might sway you a bit more towards the narcissistic side where you don't want to be there. You were perfectly fine in the middle where you already were. And this is even worse for people that are already on the more narcissistic side where they already have an abundance of pride and self-love and just feel like they're the shit all the time. Watching Vegeta and idolizing him because you would probably because he's much more like you and staying stagnant where you are probably is very unhealthy. And you should maybe draw more attention to the humility and the easygoingness of someone like Goku. But to me, someone that's very much the opposite of Vegeta, I'm much more drawn to him because he is the opposite of me, and there's things that I can learn from his character that I don't have myself. Like a big thing that Vegeta has that I do not is his ability to overcome frustration. Most people don't have this skill, I've realized, especially if you get into the fitness space. I'm on a bulk, by the way. No one can notice. I'm not gonna flex. That's probably gonna be cringe, but hopefully it's noticeable in like a couple months. But yeah, is my fitness stuff aside, usually in the fitness industry, you'll see people where they'll have like a little hiccup. Maybe they put on a few extra pounds when they didn't want to, or maybe they screwed up on a meal, or just forgot to meal prep, or like they messed up somewhere. And it's very prominent in weight loss where the frustration will just lead people to completely fall off the bandwagon. You had one bad meal, you gained 1 or 2 pounds. It's not even fat, it's just water weight. You really didn't mess up that bad. But because you saw the scale go up or because you maybe felt a little bit more bloated, you just went on a rampage and just ate everything in sight and completely gave up, and that was that. And this happens with much other facets in life. This is just the facet I see it happen the most in. But to watch someone overcome frustration in the degree that Vegeta does, you have to understand, fighting and being strong is this man's entire life. Like, to me, like maybe to someone, let's take the fitness example again, to someone trying to lose weight, losing weight isn't the grandiose goal of your entire life. You might be an artist, you might be a stockbroker, there's other things that you care about. There are things that might be your life's work, but losing weight really isn't one of them. It's just like a side project that you have that you kind of just like want to do so you can look a little bit better for Christmas photos or something. Vegeta's sole purpose for living is fighting and being the strongest. That's it. There's really very little else other than like recently his family. But fighting is still up there. To have the frustration of constantly being put down in the one thing that you want to strive for, Goku is always better than Vegeta. I think right now, my headcanon at least, is that Goku, well, not Goku, Vegeta is a bit stronger than Goku with Ultra Ego. but it's not like 100%. And even if he is, Toriyama or whoever's writing Dragon Ball right now isn't gonna let that happen for long. Goku is going to get stronger than Vegeta. It like pretty much guaranteed. So to always fail and suffer the frustration of having the thing that you want most in life just constantly put you down, it would just break most people. I don't know about you, but me, if I was striving to do something and failed as many, not even as many, half as many times as Vegeta has, I'd probably have given up a long time ago. Like, not even on just that thing, just on everything. It's like, damn, I'm just bad at everything now. Like, it's very easy to fail at one thing and then just believe that I'm just a failure now and then just drop everything. That is a very easy thing to do. But then to watch someone go through that much frustration, that much pure frustration, and then still not only just smile, laugh it off, and just keep going, but also while failing, in the process of failing, scream at the top of his lungs that he's the best and his opponent or whatever obstacle is facing him is nothing compared to him. Mind boggling. You see that nowhere else. Like, usually in anime is all about overcoming obstacles and learning to cope with failure. But if a character fails, they'll look like they're failing. Like when Naruto lost Jiraiya, he was crying. When Shikamaru lost Asuma, he had a mental breakdown. When characters fail in anime, to make them seem like actual people, they look like they're failing, and then they get themselves back up, and then they do the thing. Vegeta, as he's failing, a good example of this is just Jiren. As he's getting his ass beat by Jiren, and knows he's getting his ass beat, he still like shouts that Jiren is gonna lose and he's the best and he's the prince and his pride is what makes him strong. Insane.
Is that supposed to be insulting? You say I'm arrogant, I say damn right. That's pride. Pride in the Saiyan I am. The mighty prince of the ultimate warrior race.
You see that nowhere else. There is no other character, at least that I can think of, where as they're losing, not only are they smiling and having the time of their life, they're also saying that they're the best and that they are stronger than everyone and their opponent is nothing. That's such a... It's not a great mindset. Like I was saying, Vegeta exhibits a lot of personality traits that would usually consider you to be a bad person. But it's personality traits that can be useful in certain situations, and had the character never shown you that you can be like that, there's really not many other places where people exhibit a sense of that level of pride, and you can see it objectively and be like, oh, that's actually a trait that can be used in certain areas of my life. Usually people are just like, oh, just be humble and, come back strong or whatever, but that doesn't work a lot of the time. Sometimes you have to be like, well, I lost, yes, but I'm still the shit. I can do this. That's helpful. And especially, like I said before, that's helpful for someone that's all the way in the aisle of being too passive and not having as much self-esteem to watch someone have that much self-esteem. It's helpful to get you more towards the middle area where you can be healthy. In conclusion, being a good person is cringe and being a bad person is based. Kidding, obviously. I think Vegeta shows us a lot of things that we usually don't see in other characters, and, maybe consider being a little bit more of an asshole sometimes. It can be helpful, as President by Vegeta. But that's pretty much it for today. Sorry it took me so long to make a video. I'm running out of video ideas. So, if you have a video idea, let me know. Thank you for all the support on the previous videos. That Sasuke video did so much better than I thought it would, honestly. I haven't talked about My Hero in a while, so I'll probably talk about My Hero. Hopefully, I'll try to make it a bit more positive, but So yeah. If anything, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you had a good morning.